Hey, QED coders. This is Michael, and we are looking for audio. Yes, we have audio. We are looking for Jan, and yeah, we've got some updates on Janaga.net and MAUI, and even the replicator as a service. So lots of exciting stuff happening today. There he is.
Out of screen. Let's try that. Yeah, that's better.
Good afternoon. How do you do, sir?
Doing fine. What about you, Michael?
Very well indeed.
Had to rush a little bit, but we got there.
Yeah, so were you finishing up some stuff for your clients?
No, my wife came home a little bit late,
Ah,
so rushed to eat something. And this morning I was rushing to. Yesterday I was looking at some videos for MAUI,
mm-hmm.
but then yeah, there were still some clients coming. But okay, got understand it a little bit now. Then this morning got Visual Studio updated to have all the components.
Yeah.
So I have my emulator running with the Hello World Android
Oh,
application.
good.
but then this morning got your packaging branch downloaded.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm trying to get a reference here to Jinaga from the MAUI application,
Mm-hmm.
hoping that I can create a fact from that, just save the fact and retrieve a fact.
Uh-huh.
But that one, yeah, so if I want, yeah, now I have multiple windows open. I guess I will first have, because you don't have a NuGet package yet, so I
Correct.
wanted to, so either I will have to get the source code into the same MAUI solution,
Yes.
or I just compile the Jinaga project
Mm-hmm.
and I reference that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I went that first route, so I just added the project to the solution. So that
Okay,
way I could make changes to Janaga.net and compile, test them out.
let me try that one. Wait.
Yeah.
um, it's always funny to try things. And see how little I know about it, but okay. That's the challenge of trying things. Oh,
Let's see. It says it's ended.
I shared and it jumped away.
Hmm.
No, this is the other one. Oh, project crashed apparently.
Huh.
Wait, let's start it again. Visual Studio closed, but the second one with Jinaga is still up and running. Okay, let's try it again. That window here again, and then MAUI app go live. Up. Could that be because that emulator is running?
Maybe.
Boy. Let's start it again. I can already disconnect the Android emulator. Or I can also from the other one, Android device, yeah, Android device manager. Yes, and there I can stop it.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I found that there were a lot of steps to go through to even get things set up, and it didn't seem like
he
things were very stable.
showed me for he said for a little while saving state. Yeah, again saving state. Okay, my emulator is gone, and
Yeah.
that's a
Okay.
good
Yeah,
thing.
that
But
makes sense.
then we cannot run it anymore. Um,
Mhm.
but we can always run it on Windows.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. One step at a time. Let's make sure that
Fun thing
works
would be,
before we try the emulator.
yeah.
There we go.
And now it seems to.
Oh, almost.
Why? Why is that? Or is it because I have two Visual Studios open? Wait, let's close the. We tried one more last time.
Okay.
Now the shortcut is gone. Okay, never mind. Pin shortcut was gone, but the one on my desktop is always there. Now must be because I had to install quite a lot of updates.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bit behind. Okay.
Yeah, and they don't seem to just all install at once. It's like, oh, okay, I think I've got all the workloads, and then it says, nope, you don't have this workload. So, why do you need WASM tools? I'm not building WebAssembly here. Oh, and it crashed.
Same thing.
Hmm.
Why? Simple reboot of the computer might solve the problem, but that will take
Maybe.
longer.
Yeah.
It's very fun. Yeah, we shared it so many times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if I reboot it, go and try to reboot the computer anyway.
Let's let me share and show what I've got, and then maybe we can try that toward the end.
At least we are sure we have this
Yeah.
part one, because you never know with these updates. If I try to reboot the computer, that it starts installing updates and.
Yes. Yeah, and this will make sure that everything
and
is
that
working
works.
here. Okay.
That works.
All right. So, and I do have the emulator running over here.
Okay.
So it's up and running. I haven't been
And
using it for this test, but maybe we'll try that out.
yeah, and you're running now the latest version of Visual Studio 2022.
Yes.
The latest updates.
Yes.
Okay, so there's no reason why it shouldn't work here.
Yep. Yeah, I found that I had to install the latest in order to create a MAUI app on .NET 7. Prior to that, it was trying to create MAUI on .NET 6. I said, let's go ahead and try it with 7. They might have fixed some things that were plaguing them during the preview phase. It still feels like it's in the preview phase, though, to be quite honest. It's still quite crashy.
Restart Visual Studio on my side so that I can follow along. As long as I don't share it, it should not be a problem.
Okay.
We can try later with live share.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. If we want to tempt fate that much, we can get all of the things working.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I started out with is just did a brand new MAUI app. It's still called MAUI App 1 on .NET 7.
Default name.
And then I added the Janaga project to the solution. So this is the just reached
So
out
that's the
to...
packaging branch that you created.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yep, so I just reached out to the projects folder, grabbed Janaga.net, and that's sitting right next to the one that's in Janaga Samples, MAUI App 1.
Okay.
So the solution just kind of reaches up and then back down, grabs another project, and then added that project dependency. Where is the project dependency showing up? Yeah, I guess they're not listed in the tree anymore, but yeah, right there.
I'm gonna try that on the spot.
Okay.
So add project reference, and then I go to browse. No, not add project. No,
Yeah, it should be add
no.
existing
I have to
project.
I have to add it as a project to the solution.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, here add existing project, and then I go to that other directory. It was just Jinaga project only, yeah?
Correct, yes.
Okay, it's
Yep.
added, and then I set a dependency from MAUI project. Yeah, the project reference, Jinaga. Yeah, that one I have. But indeed, it doesn't show up in the dependencies.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
I wonder if they deliberately changed that or if it is a bug. But yeah, we know it's there. So then the next thing was I created a Janaga config static class, and that's where I have the static J field.
Okay, because you want to work directly with the replicator.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you don't initialize that, then you just have a bare bones in memory, no parent connection Janaga instance.
Yeah, because there was one thing I didn't really understand. You made this factory method for the SQLite store.
Yes.
But if you don't give a path to that factory method, it will automatically create an in-memory store.
Yeah. So it would be effectively the same thing as Janaga client.create.
Yeah. Why did you do that? Because the moment that you want to use the SQLite store,
yeah. So that's just so that you get kind of iterative or incremental behavior. So I could bring in the SQL dependency, change that to Janaga SQLite client, and then still have an empty create, and then work my way up to actually using the SQLite store.
okay.
Yeah. So just so that the a thing that the developer could do ends up having some reasonable behavior.
Mm-hmm. Because I didn't follow the dependencies, but I guess that means that if you use the SQLite store package, you also need one of the test packages that contains wait, can I see it here? No, the other one I closed. Let's open it again. Because the in-memory store was not in Jinaga itself, if I remember well.
In the past, it was in unit test, but I've moved it to the core library.
To Jinaga itself.
Yeah.
Storage, perhaps. Yeah, in storage. Okay. All right. So it doesn't need additional dependencies.
Yep. So Yeah, Janaga SQLite client.
Mm-hmm.
Create. Then we can set the HTTP endpoint just like we can with with this one.
Yeah.
HTTP endpoint. But yeah, also SQLite path. Yeah, so so this way, yeah, let me show a little bit of the changes I made to tests. So we've got our, not Janaga test, but SQLite test.
The query test and the store test, I think you changed.
Yeah. So
Because the way you delete the database was different.
yeah. So I moved that out of the constructor,
Mm-hmm.
so that yeah, we wouldn't have a flag that's that that only tests would use, and furthermore, the basically moved the responsibility of naming the database. You moved that up a level, so that if you had two Janaga applications, they could have two separate databases.
Yeah.
So,
That's a clever.
yeah, which
clever thing
right
to do.
now would not be a problem, but eventually it will be. So yeah, we go to the application data, then create um, a subdirectory specific to this application, and then create a DB inside of that. So yeah, this could just be JanagaDB inside of that folder. In this case, I decided to use a different name for each of the different tests, which actually has the side effect of the tests now being independent.
Yeah.
So you don't have to put them into the same collection. But yeah, and then once we've got that SQLite path, and right here, we create the SQLite store with that path. And yeah, so the delete portion of it, maybe that didn't show up in store test, but in query test. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just put that delete logic out here. And now one thing that SQLite Store will do is ensure that all of the intermediate directories exist. So that way you just say, here's the path where I want the database to be, and then it ensures that it can do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Now, I don't know, because that path, I defined it for Windows. And also here in the sample environment.special folder .local application data. But I don't remember what it becomes on Android.
Yeah. If I recall, Android and iOS both support some subset of special folders. And I believe that local application data is within the subset that's supported on all the platforms. So I think this is going to end up doing the right thing. And furthermore, by using path combine, it's going to use the correct orientation, the correct slashes.
Okay.
So, yeah, haven't gotten to the point yet where I'm actually using SQLite on an Android emulator, but that is going to be one of the tests.
That would be nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, this could actually be replaced with the Janaga SQLite. Janaga SQLite client create. It could be replaced with that because it ends up doing the same thing. But I still like to leave this as these are the components that we're putting together. Just in case we want to change the factory method, or we want to change what the test is doing. So it's good to see the internals when you're testing here. So that is that part. And then the thing that I was focusing on is reading from a replicator. So I did the bad thing that people always do in demos where they just shove a URL into the source code. Before I actually turn this into to documentation, I'm going to swap that out for actually reading from a configuration variable. But for right now, that got that job done. And if I go to dev.janaka.com and I look at the this one is the blog replicator, then right now that's the only thing that I've got I've got this replicator published. So publish is disabled because it's already published. So N25, that is that. And then furthermore, to test things out, I used the Postman collection that I've uploaded to janaka.com that lets people just experiment with a replicator. So using this Postman collection, I went in here, edit, and I set the replicator URL to that N25 URL. So that way I could create some blog posts. So we got a post for qedcode.com with a title and then I overwrite the title.
Yeah.
So that is what I've got up there, and then if I take a look at the read side, do the same thing. Yeah, actually, this was the one that shipped, so I can read from that replicator, and I see there's introduction to the Janaka replicator is the value that's coming back for that particular post.
Latest title.
Yep. So, initialized the replicator, and then when I do this, now I want to ensure that when I create a view model, do a watch on the on this Janaka instance, that it fetches from the replicator, initializes the view model, binds it to the view, shows me all that data. Do you think I got that working?
I think yes.
I got close. Let's see how far I got. So yeah, as I was going through this pattern, I was originally hoping that we could just minimize the amount of space between the view and the specification, let the projection be the view model. But yeah, it quickly became obvious that I actually do need a view model that the specification updates as it loads things. And so tried to pull in an assistant, and of course assistant does not work for .NET 6 or 7. Yeah, we I had a collaborator back when we were getting started with .NET Standard, and then we tried again with .NET Core to see if we could get it updated to work with to work as a standard or a core assembly, but ran into some issues and were not sufficiently motivated to work through the issues because at the time there was no user interface for .NET Standard or Core. But now there is. So now there's no motivation. So we will get Assistant working. But in the meantime, I'm using the Community Toolkit MVVM framework. So in fact, I think I might I might go ahead and use Community Toolkit as the documented examples, because that's what people are going to be used to. I'll also have documentation for how to do the same thing with Assistant. But there might even be a more exciting option with Assistant. I'll get back to that. So MVVM Community Toolkit has this base class observable object, and then you can call a method on the base class in order to say I have changed this property, and then it does the property change stuff, so we're all good with that. But it has one more trick up its sleeve, and that is code generation.
Okay.
So here I created an observable collection of post-header view models. If I take a look at the post-header view model, here is the code that I wrote. So it's an observable object, and it has this observable property. So I just declare a private field and then use this this attribute observable property, and then the MVVM Community Toolkit generates the rest of the code in order to make that a property. So in fact, this is the generated code. So you see we've got a title property, so it's got the getter, and then the setter does this whole thing. Okay, I'm about to change it. Here's the old value. Here's the or here's the different version of untitled changing that passes in a default string. I'm not sure why. Okay, the property is changing. All right, now it has changed. Okay, now the property has changed. It's like, it really wants you to know I'm doing this thing, and then sets the field. So the important thing there is that it finishes off with onProperty changed. So that tells the base class to raise the notify property changed. To tell everybody that we now have a new title and you can come get it. So there's all that, and then a few other things, like you can subscribe to onTitled changed yourself in order to do extra logic. So this is how typical MVVM frameworks do those dependencies between properties, is you subscribe to the change in one property in order to change another one, and set up the dominoes yourself. But of course, in the Assistant world, we won't do that. But just by doing that, we now have iNotify property changed on title. And so I can set up some code that loads from a Janaga specification, creates a bunch of objects, sets titles, and that should be good. So that's what I've got here. So I think this might be the pattern that I recommend for folks, is inside of your top level view model, go ahead and create a method that either takes some facts or enough information to get you to the right facts. So in this case, I'm doing the information route. So I want to load this view model for a particular domain. And so here's my specification on how to do that. And then right here is getting to the site object for that domain. Oh, I probably should say right here is the model itself. So we've got a site record, and then a post in that site, a post title with the prior, and then post deleted. Yeah. So all of that stuff matches with the types that are used inside of this collection. So we've got that that site, and now I want to find my mouse, which has disappeared. Okay, I'll switch to the keyboard. So now I want to do a j.watch in order to load from this load the posts in that site. So this is our typical. There it comes. This is our typical link type of specification. So facts of type post, where the site is equal to that site, and there are not any facts of type post deleted, where that post has been deleted. And then we select the post and the titles, and we make that observable, and then give it another link query. So the titles, where the title post is post. Oh, okay. I'm going to go ahead and add this on the fly. This is something I forgot to do. And there are not any facts of type post title. So this is the mutable property pattern. So there's not a next, or next.prior contains the title. There we go. So this should give us just the most recent title. So, yeah, all right. So we'll see if that changes things that happen down the way. But yeah, now I've got this specification that gives me this this generic, this projection. So the projection has a post called post, and it has an iObservable of string called titles. Because right here I'm selecting the value, so that gives me that iObservable of string. So now when I say j.watch, that specification from the site, then I get back this projection, which is one of those things, as a post and an iObservable of titles. So we create our new post header view model, and then we add that, and then we call onAdded to subscribe to any changes to titles. So tell me about any new titles that show up. And then as they show up, it just simply sets the property. And then we add that to the observable collection that we created here. And there's a reason this is commented out here, is that at the end, when we're done, we return a function that would remove that post header from the collection of posts. So that's the pattern that I borrowed from React that lets you say, all right, when this is added, do this, but then when it's removed, then call this. So if a post is deleted, that gets called. So one thing that that happened throughout all of this is that all of this loading from the replicator is happening on some background thread, and then these callbacks, this unadded callback here, this unadded callback here, these are called from that background thread. So I had to marshal that to the UI thread in order to do this without making the data binding system throw a fit. So unfortunately, main thread is part of the MAUI application model. There may be an equivalent that's not dependent upon MAUI. It would be nice to be able to do this inside of onAdded, so that by the time these get back to you're on the main thread. But I certainly don't want Janaga to take a dependency on MAUI. So for right now, you have to remember to do all this stuff yourself, which is unfortunate because the error messages it gives you are not very helpful. So, yeah, we are doing a j.watch, updating the view model, and that's what we do inside of load. When we are all done with it, unload will stop the watch and clear out the posts. And
then all the information in the application disappears.
All the information in this view model disappears. The Janaga instance that we created here still has all of the facts that it received from the remote replicator. It's got those cached. So if we were to navigate back to this page, then when we set up this watch again, it would first of all call back on all these lambdas here to take those facts and put them back into your view model, and then it would also make the call to the replicator to see if there's anything more. So that means that the user experience is navigating back to something that they'd already seen is instantaneous. So, yep. So yeah, that's separating the idea of caching the projection inside of the view model versus caching the facts inside of the Janaga instance, which as we build out more complex applications, that's going to be extremely important, because one of the things that really slows down an MVVM type of application is this communication between view models. So it's like, I've done something here, and so I need to post a message and notify all the other view models in the system that I did that thing, and then some of them might care about that and then respond. So it's like, I read a notification, so post that to the message bus, and now the little notification indicator view model sees that I've read it and can clear out that the little red circle. So that's the way you usually do things inside of an MVVM application, but of course in Janaga you don't need to, because you've set up a specification in each of your view models that tells the Janaga instance what you are interested in. And so when you do a j.fact from one view model, then it'll do the query inverse and it'll find the other specification, and it will call these callbacks in that other one. So that means you can write each component just thinking about that one component, not have to think about how they all interoperate, and then it'll figure it out. So that'll be really important for being able to continue to make progress on a complex application, especially if you've got a team of several different developers. Like, you work on this, you work on this, you work on this, and they all just get it integrated.
Yeah, but even if it's just one person alone, if there is not too much dependency between the updates, it's always much more easier.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I am looking forward to experiencing that firsthand and then watching other people experience it, because this should get you to the point of, well, you can see right here it's still a bit messy, but my goal is get you to the point of just expressing the requirements, and then it just works. So with query inversion, that should be possible. So now we have loaded our view model. Let's go back to the main page. So this is the code behind of this main page XAML. So I just have a list view of posts, and the data template in here is a label looking at the title. So pretty simple little view. And so what we do here is just create a post list view model, and then in onAppearing we load QEDcode.com. So the pattern would be whatever navigation happens and you've got the parameters for this view, you just pass those parameters into your load method, and then get the correct starting facts, and then build your specification from there. And then set that as the binding context, and that way when we say bind to posts from the front end, then it grabs the posts observable collection from the view model. And then on disappearing, you do the unload.
If we try that.
Yeah. If we try that, then what we get... Here it comes. Ah! Alright. We don't get quite what we wanted, but we get something.
Yeah.
Okay, come on. There you go. Goodness. Yeah, so I had to initialize my my post header view model to uninitialize so that I could see these things show up, because without that they were just empty strings. But it is not calling things in the right order. So if I come back here, we've got this on added that sets up the callback to set the title. So the thing that's happening here is that we're fetching from different feeds in order to populate the data, and the feeds are coming back in the wrong order, or at least that's what I suspect is happening, and I don't have quite the right code in place to make sure that the parent projection is added before the child title comes back in. So to kind of walk through that, what I was doing is let's do exactly what the library is doing. So instead of read here, it goes to feeds, and it says I want to get the feeds for this particular query. And I just copied the query straight out of what was being generated, but that was before I had this. So here we've got the title where the title post is equal to post, but I did not have not exists. The next blog post title such that next prior blog post title is equal to title. So that should be what it actually produces now, and so it's getting back 4 feeds. Prior to that change, it was getting back 3 feeds, but now it's taking that not exist and saying, okay, well that's another feed. I need to know when the title has been replaced. So we've got some code that's going through each one of these feeds and fetching all of the facts from those feeds, and then running them through the notification. And from what I can tell, this first feed right here is getting all of the all the posts that have not been deleted. And then the second feed is getting the deletions. And then this third one is getting all the titles, whether they've been replaced or not. And then this second one is getting the replacements, getting the next. So it should grab all of these facts, run them through the callback, set up the unadded handler, and then process the results from this feed. So I have to look back at how I solved that concurrency problem in JavaScript, because in JavaScript it runs all of these feeds in parallel. And we saw that in the stir step, and then it collects all of the results, puts them in the right order, and then invokes the callbacks, and then it says, all right, you are free to add more facts and to subscribe to these feeds, and things will come in the right order from here on, but it had to first put these into the right order. So you have to make sure that the C# code is doing that same thing. But because it's doing things a bit out of order, this unadded handler never gets called. So that's the reason that we just have these uninitialized titles. In addition to that, we have this problem. So let me close that and start this one up again. So you saw that there were 3 of them, and that doesn't make sense, because if I take a look here, I'm getting back just 1. Well, that's because I actually had 3 posts in oh, wait a minute. That's interesting. All right, I expected to see 3 posts, but there's only 2. Yeah, so over time I was playing around with this particular replicator, and I created a second post, and I thought that I had created 3, but yeah, it looks like I only had 2. All right, so the mystery continues. Why am I getting back 3 distinct posts? And yeah, this is also kind of related to running things out of order, is that it's not saving up all of the notifications until it has all of the information. And so it's notifying you of posts that actually have been deleted. And then it learns about the deletion, and this one at least does it in the right order, but then when it tries to remove that post, it runs into some issues. So I run that, and yeah, here it's started over here, but before I could drag it onto the screen, we got this this exception from the observable collection. Argument out of range. We're trying to pass in a -1 for an index somewhere down the line, and so that to me sounds like it tried to find the object in the collection, didn't find it, and so it's trying to remove -1. So it's like, oh, okay, am I trying to remove something that's not actually in the posts? Well, now I am. Yeah, now the post collection is empty. In a previous run through this, I found that the post collection was not empty, but it's still throwing this exception. And so
It's a bit of a mystery.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, making an object ID for this one, what I saw before is that posts actually contained that exact object. So, so I was doing everything right, trying to remove something that was in the collection. But then researching it, I found that there has been this bug in observable collection since the MAUI days that that something. Yeah, so when you remove from an observable collection, it immediately notifies its subscribers that the collection has changed, and it does that before remove returns. And so if something downstream does something incorrect, then and it throws an exception, then that exception is going to bubble up to remove. And so it seems like that's what's happening with the data binding system somehow.
Okay.
So lots of little issues to work through. Some of them do appear to be MAUI issues, and so I have to find a workaround for them until, at some point they get fixed. But the ultimate solution for us will be that we won't use this observable collection class. Instead, we'll use assistant, which does the notification differently. It waits until you're finished with everything before it notifies all of the changes. And so if a problem occurs downstream, then assistant will log that exception, but continue because it wasn't your fault, so I'm not going to throw the exception back at you.
Yeah. So in that way, we will always know the details and know that something goes wrong and what goes wrong.
Yep. Yep, so that's what the pattern is looking like so far. But what occurred to me is that we've got an opportunity here. We've got these code generators.
Yeah.
So this code generator from the community toolkit is just looking at attributes on types and then saying, okay, from that I'm going to generate the other half of the partial class and make properties out of it. But what if we had a code generator that looked at the type of this specification? So let me kill that. Then we can see here's the type of the specification, and it's looking at specifically that that generic parameter. So what does the projection look like? Well, let's say an object having a post property and an observable of strings called titles. So then what if it were to generate this view model from that type? So, all right, I've got an observable of posts that so has a not a string of title, but instead an array of string of type called title, since that's what the data type was talking about. So I take that data type. So I've got a post and I've got this array of strings, and then I generate that as an assistant model class. So it's got observables for each of those things. In fact, it wouldn't even need observable for the post because it knows that that's an immutable part of the projection. What it would have is an observable collection of the titles. But it would do that in the assistant way so that you could then create your own view model that depends upon that one, that does the logic of checking to see how many titles you have and then either concatenating them or giving you the last one, or doing whatever you need to get that projection ready for the view. So then that could that could simplify things quite a bit, and you would get down to where you would write that specification, and then in your code behind here, you would give that specification to some factory method that would then give you back that model object, and you could either bind that directly to the view using forView.wrap, or you could create an intermediate view model that depends upon that, and then forView wrap that view model. And that should simplify things quite a bit.
Still a lot of good ideas. Besides the view model, because now we are storing in the memory store. If you would like to add the memory store, so in fact it's just the initialization of the Jinaga then. The Jinaga client that we have to change.
Yeah. Yeah, so in order to initialize the SQLite store, we'll have to add that project as a reference here, or ultimately add that NuGet package, and then create from SQLite client, and then we could set opt dot what did we call it? Path something.
The other one here.
Yeah, SQLite path. Yep, so do the SQLite path, and then here do the path.combine, and do all that stuff to get to that path. Yep, and then we will have local storage on your application, and that's the only change you need to make.
We still have time to try it out?
Let's see.
3 minutes.
All right. So let's add an existing project. The SQLite client.
Yeah, that one.
And then add the project reference. Then add the using. And then we do code similar to this. Let's just that kind of stuff. So this is going to be MAUI app 1. Okay, let's just see what happens.
And then deploy it to the Android emulator.
Yeah, I mean, that change only took less than a minute. So certainly. Okay. DLL not found.
Able to load.
Okay.
Well, why is he? Because the eSQLite 3, that's one of the dependencies of that source code is pointing to NuGet packages for SQLite.
Okay.
But they should still be in place.
Yeah, so I think it's just that since I didn't install it as a NuGet package, I don't have the transitive dependencies. So let's do SQLite PCL raw. Let's go ahead and add that dependency manually. That one right there? Or do we add this one?
Which one was it? The one by Eric Sink, I think. The first one. Yeah, Eric Sink,
okay.
The first one.
Okay.
What was it? Light. dependencies, packages. Oh, it was the, yeah, that one.
Okay.
The SQLite 3 bundle.
Okay. All right, let's uninstall that one for right now.
So that's,
that one
yeah,
there.
that one. Yeah.
Raw bundle E. This one's lib E. Let's see. Raw bundle E by Eric Sink. Raw bundle E, Eric Sink. Okay.
That's
Okay.
more recent version, but it should work.
All right, and let's also, while I'm here, get rid of this problematic line so that it doesn't cause any troubles, and then see what happens. And in theory, this should just create a database and load the facts from the replicator into that database and bind them to the view. So the application has started up. And I'm not certain what it is doing. I don't have any breakpoints set. Okay, well, something happening, but it didn't crash. That's good.
Already a positive point.
Yeah.
But we were expecting 3 times uninitialized. Like.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so let's see if I were to go to
Where the database is there.
Yeah, I'm trying to see how would I
just application between percentage signs app path, percentage sign app path, percentage sign. So percentage app path and then percentage. And now enter. Oh, but you put 3 P's.
Oh. Okay, yeah, I thought it was app app and then PATH.
Right. Well, what was it? No, it's not that. I've used it so many times. And, no, what was it? Percentage. Something that I'm using all the time. No. To look for that on Google. It's not possible. I'm using it. It's not that one. I'm using it all the time. No, not. It's app data.
Okay.
Percentage app data. Percentage.
All right, there we go.
Okay.
So,
And then you go one up. You go one up to app data, and then local.
okay.
And then somewhere down it should.
So I called it MAUI. Yeah. Or MAU. Yeah. So it should be right here. App 1, I think, is what I called the folder. Where is the... Where's that config? MAUI app 1.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, here's MAUI app 1. Oh, well, found it in the Janaga samples, of course, it's found the source code.
That's the other one.
Okay, so local does not have a MAUI app 1 folder. Let's look at date modified.
Oh, but there is a Jinaga DB there.
Oh.
Second line.
Okay. Yeah. So something was created, it just wasn't inside of the MAUI app 1 folder for some reason.
Yeah.
That was a few days ago, though. Yeah, so that was probably running tests.
That was from my original code, I think, where you didn't add the path.
Yep. So who knows? Maybe it's added as part of this temp, but yeah, it could be that that it's obfuscated, so that we're not giving MAUI applications direct access to folders.
Let's hope that is not the case. Right, I go to the connection factory, and there I create somewhere the database. Create DB. The connection. The full path name. One reference. SQLite store with the full path.
Okay, well, I think we will need to pick this up later. I need to get into the office because
Never mind. I will have a look into the source code. Why that is not creating the database in the correct place in MAUI.
Very good.
All right.
Yeah. So, progress.
No, that was very nice. Yeah, almost running on MAUI with the database.
Yeah, almost.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're getting close.
Michael, have a nice working day.
All right, you too.
And then see you next week, Thursday.
Yes, indeed. See you next week.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.